Today, we present what we're calling a discernment drop. It's an analysis from Pastor John L. Widdifield, and it concerns the foundational conflict of our time. And no, this isn't a conflict over territory or resources, but over the very tools we use to perceive the world itself. This single premise from Pastor John's work, well, it reveals everything, doesn't it? It tells us about the nature of the war being waged. You see, this is not a war of armies, but of glossaries. Not of manifestos, but of memos. Memos explaining what words now mean this week. The ultimate goal here isn't persuasion, it's control.
All right, let's begin by establishing the natural order of things, shall we? Traditionally, words are understood as descriptors of a stable external reality. They're the labels we apply to things that exist quite independently of our feelings about them. This, of course, is the very foundation of sane communication.
And here we have the central thesis. Whoever seizes control of definitions, whoever becomes the final arbiter of what words mean, ultimately controls morality, law, and even memory itself. Think about it. Definitions precede law, law precedes enforcement, and enforcement precedes submission. It's a clear and logical path.
So now we turn to the primary and, according to Widdifield, the only tactic of modern false ideologies. It's a weapon of, let's say, profound and rather subtle power.
So the crucial point is this. The battle is not one of persuasion or evidence. It's certainly not an honest debate. No, it's a subtle corruption of the tools of thought themselves, and it's executed quietly, while civil people are distracted by the simple norms of polite discourse.
The critique here is just devastating. You see, ideological victory is not achieved through some grand intellectual contest. There is no triumphant refutation of a better argument. Instead, the focus is on seizing the means of definition. I mean, why bother arguing with an idea when you can simply edit the dictionary? Opposing viewpoints are not engaged honestly or defeated with superior logic. Oh no, that would be far too difficult. The strategy is really far simpler. You just relabel reality. You reclassify vice as virtue, sickness as identity, and of course, nonsense as nuance, until the original argument becomes, well, literally unspeakable.
Let's now trace how this whole linguistic effort is designed to achieve total submission. We'll see how it moves from some abstract theory debated in universities to a very concrete code enforced in the workplace and the public square.
This illustrates a clear four-step progression. It starts with a new definition. That definition is then codified into speech codes, HR policies, and eventually law. Then the code is enforced. And finally, citizens are compelled not just to tolerate the new definition, but to actively use it. Pastor John's words describe the outcome with surgical precision. A culture where people whisper facts for fear of reprisal, and where even clergy must consult lawyers before quoting scripture. It is progress, perhaps, but only for the hostage takers. But here is where the entire project encounters a fatal flaw. We're now going to examine the fundamental difference between the nature of truth and the nature of falsehood. It's a difference that reveals the inherent weakness of this whole enterprise.
Just consider the sheer exhaustion of maintaining a lie. It requires constant updates, new terminology, style guides, and institutional force just to prop it up. Truth, on the other hand, well, it requires none of this. It's self-evident. It simply is, and needs no assistance from a committee.
And this is the crucial point. Core realities existed long before modern theories, and they will certainly outlive them. The concepts of man and woman were not awaiting footnotes from an academic journal. Truth is not some beta release. These things, they are not subject to revision.
So, if the diagnosis is a war on words, what is the prescription? What is the proper response to this linguistic siege? Well, according to Widdifield, it is simpler and far more powerful than one might imagine. The source poses this fundamental question, and it provides an answer. Language isn't owned by institutions or corporations or activists. It belongs to ordinary people who use it to faithfully describe the world. Farmers naming the weather, mothers naming children, believers naming God. Here, then, is the actionable takeaway from Widdifield's notice. The ultimate weapon isn't some counter-propaganda campaign. It's the stubborn, unapologetic use of plain words. It is a quiet refusal to participate in the mass hallucination that dares to call submission compassion. And the final takeaway is this. Words are not up for a vote. Truth will outlast every fashionable lie.
Because in the end, reality does not negotiate. It simply is.